In a land where names were more than mere words, they held the power to shape destiny. Each name carried its own magic, guiding lives in unexpected ways. This is the story of how the names we are given can influence our path, for good or ill, and the secrets they hold about who we truly are. In the town of Yedoro, where the crows spoke in whispers and the river ran with the echoes of forgotten prophecies, names were not merely titles, they were destinies etched into the soul. It was said that the right name could lift a child to the stars, but the wrong one could bind them to the shadows. The elders often warned, a name is like a blade. It can protect or destroy, depending on who wields it. No one believed this more than Evelyn and Tobias, a couple who waited years for a child. And when the gods finally blessed them with a son, they knew his name had to be extraordinary. The oracle's warning. As was tradition, they sought the wisdom of Madame Lucera, the town seer. Her house stood at the edge of the great river, where the water churned as if it carried untold secrets. Inside, incense coiled in the air, and her silver eyes shimmered with vision unseen. "What shall we name him?" Evelyn whispered, cradling her newborn baby. Madame Lucera placed her wrinkled fingers on the baby's forehead and inhaled sharply. "This child," she murmured, "is bound for greatness. But greatness has two faces. The name you choose would either crown him or consume him." The bears laughed in a silly way. "We have chosen Magnus, the Great One. Surely he will rise to power and prestige." The oracle's lips paused. "Magnus is a name of might, but might without wisdom becomes tyranny. Will he be strong enough to carry this name, or will the weight of it break him?" But Tobias and Evelyn had already decided, and so the child was named Magnus. The rise of Magnus. From his earliest years, Magnus carried his name like a golden crown. At 5, he spoke in full sentences, while others babbled. At 10, he had deceived with great ingenuity men twice his age. By 16, he was already a leader, admired, feared, and undeniable. But something dark paused within him, a hunger not just to be great, but to be greater than all others. He did not make friends, he made followers. He did not build trust, he built loyalty through fear. And the town, once proud of his name, began to whisper until the arrival of Eli. His name was soft, unassuming, Eli, 3 simple letters, void of grandeur, and yet people followed him. Unlike Magnus, Eli did not demand attention. He did not command, manipulate, or conquer. He simply was, and the world seemed to bloom around him. Where Magnus sought power, Eli earned trust. And where Magnus imposed himself on others, Eli inspired people. Magnus found himself outshined for the first time, not by force, but by something more insidious, an effortless light that he could never seem to grasp. He watched as his people, his classmates, his peers began turning towards Eli. They sought his advice, his company, his kindness, and as always, Magnus felt his throne crumbling beneath him. The realization burned him from the inside out. One storm-cloaked night, Magnus stormed into the oracle's tent, his face shadowed with rage. "You tricked us," he snarled. "You said my name would bring me greatness, but I have done nothing but chase it. And now, a boy with a meaningless name steals my place." Madame Disera, seated before the fire, opened her eyes. "Your name did not betray you, Magnus," she said. "It merely revealed you." Magnus flinched. "What does that mean?" She reached for a dusty tome and flipped it open, revealing pages filled with the names of Yedoro's ancestors. Her finger landed on one. "Do you know the first Magnus?" He stiffened. "Of course, Magnus the Conqueror." "Do you know how he died?" Magnus faltered. The oracle's voice was as soft as the shifting embers. "He died alone, because in his pursuit of greatness, he forgot to be good." The words struck Magnus like a thunderbolt. His breath hitched. For the first time in his life, he saw himself not as he wanted to be, but as he was. A boy consumed by his own name, a name that has not freed him, but shackled him. The poisoned cup. On the night of the great town gathering, Magnus devised a plan. The people had begun to love Eli for leadership. If something were to happen to him, Magnus's path would be clear once more. With steady hands and a cold smile, Magnus handed Eli a ceremonial drink, a mixture of herbs, some harmless, others fatal. As Eli raised the cup to his lips, the village held its breath. But just before he drank, a strong wind howled through the square. The firelight flickered wildly, and then the cup shattered. A gasp ripped through the crowd. The wind roared through the trees, carrying with it the voices of the ancestors. Magnus's heart pounded. He turned and met Madame Lizere's gaze. The old woman's silver eyes were dark and knowing. "You have failed the taste of your name." A silence, heavier than death, settled over Yedoro. The townspeople saw him now, not as a king, not as a leader, but as a man unworthy of his name. Magnus fled that night, disgraced and forgotten. For years he wandered distant lands, stripped of power, stripped of certainty. Who was he without his name? While in exile, he did something he had never done before. He listened, he learned, and he learned to let go. And when he finally returned, he no longer claimed greatness. He built homes and taught children. It was not easy. A lifetime of ambition does not unravel overnight. But slowly, Magnus found greatness in humility, power in kindness. And when the time came, he chose to lead not as Magnus the Great, but as Magnus the Wise. And the town of Yedoro, once so beholden to the weight of names, learned a new lesson. A name can shape you, but only you decide what it means. The moral of the story: a name can be a gift or a curse, but only the bearer determines which one he becomes.